Welcome to the Brittle Bone Society's research event featuring the Margaret Grant Legacy Award. We have a fantastic evening planned for you. To note some housekeeping due to COVID, I would ask you to please be mindful of precautions. We suggest you wear your mask whilst moving around the venue and keep contact to a minimum. Keep safe, but do enjoy tonight. Our host for this evening will be our Vice Chairman, John Phillips. But first, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honour to ask that you join with me to give a formal address, the Lord Provost of Dundee, Ian Bodwick. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and good evening. I'm delighted to be able to attend this event and to offer a formal welcome on behalf of the City of Dundee. It is truly inspirational that trustees of the Brittle Bone Society are holding this event in the home and the birthplace of your late founding member, Margaret Grant. And just on a personal note, my wife and I knew Margaret quite well over a number of years. And she always impressed us, despite the challenges that she faced, as being an enthusiastic and committed lady to the organisation. And I always got the impression that she believed in people and had respect for everybody. I wanted to say that personal note because she made a distinct impression on us. And you know this, she never forgot to send me a birthday card for some reason. I don't know why, but she did. Anyway, I am also pleased that colleagues from the University of Dundee are also in attendance tonight, strengthening ties with this charity of which we are all so proud. I want to welcome all the guests who have come here tonight and those specialists joining us from leading hospitals from every corner of the UK. They have come from Glasgow, Sheffield, London, Bristol, Birmingham and Oxford, to name just some of the locations. The people of this proud city acknowledge the late Dr. Margaret Grant, MBE, and the work undertaken by her over 50 years ago. Despite many difficulties, she was able to set up the BBS charity, which continued to work its work to this day from its HQ in Guthrie Street. When last I spoke to this audience in 2018, I did note the impact the Brittle Bone Society has had on furtherance of research and improved healthcare outcomes for those born with OI. So I'm delighted that tonight the charity will share updates on the plans on how this vital work is thriving and will continue. The BBS offer families whose lives are touched by this rare condition friendly and compassionate support, as well as practical assistance to gain wheelchairs and equipment. And they also devise marvellous events like the one we are all enjoying tonight. Dundee as a city can boast many notable citizens and charitable organisations. And we are honoured to place amongst them the Brittle Bone Society and most especially the late Margaret Grant. I am delighted to encourage the BBS in their new research ventures, and I'm doubly pleased that they will take time to establish a suitable, formal and lasting legacy for their founding member. And I wish you all terrific, informative and enjoyable evening, and I hope everyone has a wonderful time whilst here in this amazing city of Dundee. And I now formally declare the BBS research event formally open. Thank you very much.
Good evening, it's lovely to be here. That's me. I'm apparently the host for this evening. It's really lovely to see everybody back together again after the last 2 years of you know what. So it's great that we can all be together. I want to start by thanking the Lord Provost for his warm welcome, and for coming here tonight actually, and for his lovely words about the Brittle Bone Society and its importance to the city of Dundee. That goes both ways. It's one of the things I've always been aware of is how important the city of Dundee is to the Brittle Bone Society. This, of course, is where the charity started through Margaret 53 years ago. And we're really thrilled to have you here tonight, Lord Provost, and also by the fact that the university is here as well, and the university is supporting us and working with us on the archive programme. So there are two themes tonight. It's called a research evening, so we're going to talk about research, and then after that we are going to talk about other things that the Brittle Bone Society has been up to during the 2 years of you know what. A lot of organisations, including some charities, have gone, unfortunately and unavoidably, kind of went into almost a state of hibernation during COVID and the lockdowns. That was not the case with the Brittle Bone Society. You will not be surprised to hear. So we've been up to lots of things that you will hear about later on. Before I introduce our speakers on... thought someone said John, no. Before I introduce our speakers on research, I want to just remind you that you've all got envelopes on your table and QR codes. That's so that you can take part in tonight's draw. So cash in the envelope or the QR code on your phone. That's another thing that we've all learnt to use over the last 2 years. Please write your name on the envelope if that's what you're using. We will do the draw at the end of the evening. So the first part of tonight then is research. We have 3 speakers. We're delighted to be able to introduce you to our newest trustee, Tinas Ganeshamurthy, who's sitting over there next to Patricia. He's going to speak on the incredible importance of people who have OI getting involved in the research on OI and on potential cures for OI. He's going to tell us, give his view as someone with the condition on the importance of research and on the work that's been done so far. We also have tonight the chairman of our scientific advisory board, Mr. Richard Keane, who's just, I see, moving his bottle of Glenfiddich next to his glass. I don't know why. Richard is from the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital in London. He is going to give us a view of how he sees the future of research within the charity. So remember, we have a scientific advisory board and we have a medical advisory board, and just to repeat that theme of the charity being busy during the 2 years of COVID, the regular meetings of those boards have carried on throughout the 2 years. First, though, I'm delighted to invite up your old friend, my old friend, and I say old in the sense of we've all known him for a number of years rather than suggesting that he's old, Professor Nick Bishop, who we all know from Sheffield University. you all know and understand what Richard has done for this charity over very many years. He's going to recap on the research projects that we've been working on to date. And over to you, Nick.
Thank you very much indeed, John, and it is lovely to see everyone here. It's been too long. How long is it? 3-4 years since you were here last? I think 4 years. It doesn't seem like that. Okay. So this is a recap of the research that's been undertaken, supported by the charity thus far. Richard will tell you more about the future, so I'm the past. And John was very kind, saying, my old friend. So it's probably a good moment to just mention that I'm actually retiring from clinical practice at the end of June, but carrying on doing a bit of research for a bit longer because I am getting old. So here's the recap. The Society has funded a number of projects. Nearly £60,000 has been spent in the 5 years since we established the research fund, which I think was 5 or 6 years ago now. And that money came from a legacy that specified that we should use it on research. One of the first projects that was funded was with Mina Balasubramanian, who's a geneticist, coincidentally working in Sheffield. I had absolutely no influence on the distribution of funds to her. And unusually for a geneticist, this was a project looking more about the what happens to families where individuals have OI and their experiences, and the parents talking about what it was like to have a severely affected child. And the things that came out of it were things that we all know, but it was good to see them actually captured in a systematic sort of way. And some of the work that Mina did in this area found its way into the white paper that was presented to the European Commission through the European Reference Network when we were still members of the EU. So the common themes were the odyssey, the amount of time you spend trying to find the right people to look after you when you've got a rare disease, and OI in particular. The issues around safeguarding, the accusations that some parents face of child abuse when their child first presents with fractures, and the importance of having people look after you who know what they're doing. And we've been discussing that at the table this evening. So from that, the Society also funded then Antonella Foligno, who is a basic scientist working in Pavia in Italy. And Antonella has been using a model system, so-called. She uses fish, zebrafish to be precise, to look at the effects of new approaches to trying to change the way in which bone cells behave in OI. And this is lovely Antonella. And she's using a bone targeting system based on a bisphosphonate, alendronate, linked to a small molecule called 5-butyric acid, which is actually used in some metabolic diseases of children separately. And they've been able to demonstrate that they can improve the mineralization of bone tissue using this approach, but they haven't got it beyond this stage yet. So this is what we call a preclinical system, and it's the kind of work that's done for the development of any new drug. All drugs have to go through stages, and that's why it takes a long time, because you test them out in cells, and in sometimes in zebrafish, sometimes in small furry animals, and then finally you get to humans. Further down the sort of clinical pathway, though, Judith Boubier, who's a colleague of Richard's down at Stanmore, Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital, has been looking at the experiences of adults with OI in an NDT clinic, and looking at different aspects of their quality of life, and found that a lot of the patients who she dealt with were complaining about pain, and a lot of them needed therapy input. And this isn't a surprise, but adult services have been less well supported and provisioned than paediatric services, certainly in England, where we've had the highly specialised services now for more than 10 years. There's no equivalent for the adults. And so it can be a bit ad hoc in terms of your access to therapy, support and so on when you're an adult, compared to what it's like when you're a child and everything is brought together in a very much more coordinated fashion. So Judith went on and had a further look at the therapy needs of people with OI using a focus group methodology, and asked specific questions as indicated here on the slide, and particularly just linking into what Tina's is going to talk about later, what would you like research to focus on? And it's something that we've also paid attention to in other areas. But the sorts of things that came up were the things in these sort of little bubbles here. I'm really tired of not being able to get to people if and when I need them, and that really ends up in me feeling a bit more isolated. Well, I think this was before COVID. It can only have got worse during that period of time. And so really paying attention to the needs of adults as well as children who've got OI, and thinking through how the services are constructed is really important. And out of all of this focus group work, she came up with a number of themes, and they're probably not a surprise to any of you. When you look at that, you'll be able to look at them and say, yeah, that's the sort of stuff that we have to deal with. Alex Ireland is a basic scientist working in Manchester dealing with movement. And so he's been very interested in trying to compare muscle strength and muscle performance in folk with OI, adults with OI, compared to people who are apparently healthy. And this research started a while back, and as you can see, since it started in September 2019, it was a bit kiboshed by the pandemic. And so it's been a bit slow to recruit the full number of patients with OI into the studies. Nevertheless, Alex, along with Kassim Gervais, who's the chair of our medical advisory board, have done some additional work together and published that in Osteoporosis International. And so things are moving forward, but more slowly than perhaps we'd hoped. And finally, Kassim, who I've just mentioned, has been looking at healthcare resource use and costs for people with OI. The first paper's already been published, another one is coming along. And this is what the money has been spent on. This is the money the Brittle Bone Society has used to try and look at different aspects of research. So all the way from really very basic stuff, all the way through to the health services research and the provision of things for folk. So finally, and not to try and steal Richard's thunder in any way, but just a very brief of what's coming next. These are things that I'm personally involved in, so I'm happy to mention them. Setrusumab is a monoclonal antibody which inhibits an inhibitor of bone formation. Stuart over there, Richard and others have already been involved in looking at this in adults. Studies will start this year in the United States in children, and in 5 countries in Europe later this year. Losartan is a drug that's used to treat hypertension and cardiac failure in adults. We thought for a long time that it might be possible to use it to treat OI, and I was very lucky to come back to an email from the European Commission about 3 or 4 weeks ago after I come back on holiday, which started off, congratulations. And we always like emails that start like that. So we haven't had full sign-off on this, so this is money that is being offered, but it's a drug repurposing consortium funded by the EU, one of 2 consortia that were funded under this specific call, and we're hoping that we'll be able to recruit a relatively small number of patients into a study that will look at whether losartan can alter bone turnover and some other aspects of bone biology and bone structure in OI. 3 centres in the UK, 3 centres in Italy doing that work. And that's going to take me through my retirement for 4 years, because they're going to pay me a day a week to do that for 4 years, which I'm very happy about. And that's me done. And I think, Richard, I think you might be up next, or is it Tina's? I'm not sure. Tina's, okay.
for those watching at home, good evening. It's a pleasure to be here and asked to speak in my newest role as trustee for the Brittle Society. It's a privilege and an honour after having been a member for a number of years now, going on 10 years. It's a privilege to be asked to be invited onto the board. Today I'm here to speak about the importance and value of the community and the patients and the public in everything that the BBS does, but specifically within research. My journey in contributing my voice began back in 2010 when I was involved with the Royal College of Paediatrics and Child Health. That was the first moment in my life where I realised that my voice, my lived experiences mattered. They weren't unique, but they were part of something more powerful and could be used by clinicians, by occupational therapists, and by all the services and even government to improve services for ourselves, for others, and for others in other countries as well. So it's a really important thing to do, and I think there are many ways that we can all get involved. We can all support the work that the Brittle Society as well as other organisations do in that. So, Perfect. So, as Nick and others have alluded to earlier, as research has not been a still area for the BBS over the last couple of years, over the you-know-what, it's been also a very busy year for public and patient voice with the BBS as well. There has been a lot of opportunities where members of the community have been asked to contribute and give feedback on what is important to us, what matters to us, and what we should be looking at in terms of research priorities and other areas of work going forward. I was very fortunate enough to feed into the survey that looked into outcomes for independent living as well as impacts of COVID on individuals within the community as well, and we've been able to summarise that data as you can see on the board. And we've been able to use this to inform not only the strategy that the BBS has published recently, but also on other areas of work that we'll be looking to produce for the community and for others going forward. That did have a title, but it's not having a title now. So this was a slide that was talking about the losartan study that Nick alluded to in his presentation before its newest inception. A few of the colleagues within this room and others within the community had the opportunity to be part of the planning stages of what was going to be then a clinical study looking at the effective uses of losartan. Sorry, the mic is sliding away from me. Of the uses of losartan within the OI community and how it can be used within. It's fine. The first time presenting after 3 years, something's bound to go a bit wrong. All right.
Question or no?
Thank you. So I had the privilege alongside others to co-design and co-produce this study with Nick, even though it never got to the final stages that we wanted to. It's another example of how members of the community can get involved and actually shape the research, not just be part of it, but be active members of shaping how the research is done, the information and materials that go out to members who will be participants in the research going forwards, and also how that results and effective sort of summaries are disseminated across the communities as well. So it's great to have patients involved at all sort of levels of that. The great thing about working with BBS is that there are so many different levels of engagement in which you can get involved with the work that the BBS is doing. It depends on, depending on what availability you have, depending on your expertise, and also what you're interested in. There are different ways that you can get involved. So you can go from sort of consultation levels where we'll send out surveys and we'll send out sort of bits of work that we'd love to get your feedback on, all the way up to co-production and co-design, as I was fortunate enough in Nick's study and other works that are to come. So there are definitely ways that we can get involved and do what we want in terms of our interests and availability. And as I was alluding to there, the BBS is keen to ensure that it is as easy as possible to get involved and share your thoughts about what's important. So involvement is not just about surveys, even though there have been a lot of surveys over COVID, because that has been the easiest and simplest way of getting large forms of consultation, but some other ways of getting involved and shaping the future of our activities within research and other areas, including being part of working groups, being able to provide feedback via email or via phone or virtually, completing quick polls, commenting, proofreading documents, giving feedback on consultations and new proposals. There are so many different ways and different levels of engagement and time that goes into all of these things, but make a significant difference to making sure that lived experience is heard and shapes the way that things are being done. And now is the most important time of all times to get involved, because there's lots of things that are going on in the research space as well as in the governmental space, as well as in sort of patient experience research as well. So I've just put a few examples of sort of things that have come out recently that affect sort of people in our community. So you've got your National Disability Strategy, and you've got the green paper that's soon to become a white paper looking at sort of the landscape of healthcare benefits that will be potentially being reformed as part of some work that's going on as part in Her Majesty's government. And obviously the new strategy that's come out that's been shaped by a lot of the views of people in this room and at home as well. So there are definitely a pinnacle time to get involved. And I think, it's all to say really, your voice is paramount in helping us shape the future of our charity. And it really does make a difference. So I'd encourage you and urge you all to stay in touch and get involved, because it really does make a difference, and it really will make a difference for many, many years to come. Thank you.
So yes, I'm delighted to be here, ladies and gentlemen, and say Lord Provost as well, thank you for the kind introduction. And again, I think it's really great to be somewhere like, in Dundee, because I think it's when a charity just has this link with a city, it almost, the two things just go together, and I say I'm really delighted to be here. And what I'm going to talk to you in the next sort of 10 minutes or so is just basically looking at the future for research, because we've obviously heard what we've been doing, and obviously Tinnis has obviously highlighted the importance of the community of people being involved. And I think what we've got to really realise is that research will basically we'll be looking at the care, the support that we give for individuals. And you can see obviously from your billboards at the side, research is one of the key themes that the charity should be working towards. These are my disclosures, just as for transparency. But again, I think when we look at the mission statement for where we feel we should be going as a charity with where research fits, the idea really is that obviously what we're trying to do is to sort of really advance the research into the causes and the inheritance of the disease, as you can see sort of highlighted on the second bullet point. So I think what you will have heard from Nick is obviously the fact that what we've done so far. I think we're ticking a lot of those boxes so far with regards to the themes that people are putting forward. When we look at the objectives, and again I think it's important here again both for you to know what the sort of things we're looking for, and also the themes that we would perhaps be wanting scientists and clinicians to be thinking about what needs to be sort of researched. But again, I think what we're trying to do is obviously to support you, the individuals with the condition, but it's actually sort of also just trying to sort of improve the provision of the services, because again I think as Tinnis alluded to, the fact that many people, your journey, we know that you can struggle with access to care. Maybe there's a lot of diversity in the care that's actually provided. But again, we need better research to actually prove whether treatments do or don't work, rather than it just being that someone thinks something will work. We've actually got to actually try and establish that. And we really want to sort of understand, both why it's there, why you get it, basically how you can make the diagnosis quicker and better, and again, obviously understanding the sort of the impact of the disease over time. Now, when you look at the research that is going on, and obviously a lot of these projects are things that are not yet going to come to fruition, but when you look at sort of this sort of website is something that's freely accessible, it gives you an idea of the research that's going on in the space of sort of osteogenesis imperfecta. And we can see that obviously, yes, there's interest in genetics. Obviously, it's great that the pharmaceutical companies are sort of looking at drugs that will target bone therapy, and we've heard again about the Sartan trial and obviously Stewart's Topaz trial with teriparatide. So there's a lot of research in it looking at the bone side of the disease. But you can see also that there's a smaller number, or there's trials also looking at non-drug treatments. And again, it's really important that not all individuals are going to necessarily benefit from drugs, or the drugs might not be appropriate, but understanding those other areas is actually really, really important. So it's good to see that there are some trials that are going in those disease areas, and we obviously want to try and encourage that if we can. So this is another thing that's come through. This is something, again, this work was led by Cassim Javed from Oxford, who's the chair of the Medical Advisory Board. But basically, the James Lind Alliance was a sort of a thing looking at sort of research questions of individuals who have the condition, have a number of conditions, and it was looking at osteogenesis imperfecta, but it was also looking at a couple of other bone diseases. And from this, there was a lot of involvement from, I think, the community of people here, and also from clinicians and family members as well. And it came up with a number of themes of the things that you thought were important for research. And you'll sort of hopefully see where we're going with this. But essentially, what's interesting as well is that there's a lot of commonality amongst the different conditions. And I think, again, sometimes, you know, we can be stronger together for some of these things, but a lot of themes that actually are quite conserved. And so when we look at the top 10, so sort of, for those of you that remembered sort of Top of the Pops, there were sort of a top 10 sort of themes. And I haven't gone into all the individual things, but what we were looking at is sort of, if you look at them in groups, that, you know, there were obviously sort of particularly one of the top ones was the non-bone symptoms. So it's great having all the drugs that tackle the fractures, but actually we know there's a lot of other stuff that people have and have to put up with. And so actually trying to understand those areas of the disease is really important. Obviously, again, people want to know, how's my condition going to progress over age? As an adult physician, you know, I know that when I sort of take a person with OI over, you know, at their 16 to 18, I'm going to be looking after you for a very long time. So actually, how's this condition going to change with time is actually really important. And then obviously there's issues about the treatment, whether it's drug treatment, surgical treatment, and again, the outcomes and other sorts of inputs. So these are sort of the things that matter to you. And I think what I'm sort of thinking forward is one thing that we will be doing as the charity, perhaps from the scientific point of view, is actually perhaps moving on to the idea of actually, yes, we are going to be sort of obviously calling for research proposals to come in, but perhaps we should be looking as a sort of team of both from the Medical Advisory Board and also from the Scientific Board, of actually saying, well, actually, if pain's really important, we should put that question out to the scientists and the clinicians and say, come to us with research proposals that tackle pain in people with osteogenesis imperfecta, so that then we can start answering the questions that you feel are really important, rather than waiting perhaps for the scientists to come through the other way. So it's putting you more in the powerful position of actually, and with our support, saying this is the areas we want to tackle, and that's the way we will hopefully be going forward over the next few years. So our current grant round is launching this April, and it's great that, you know, we've got funding for that, and from the legacies that have been left, and that is wonderful, because research, obviously, as pointed out, is sort of, because of there's been some sort of pause of a lot of things of happening, but we're now able to start building again. So the plan will be that we will be asking for proposals this time, and we will get proposals coming through, and then we will, as you can see, this will be the timeline of what will be happening. But I hope that sort of, you know, with it in the next 6 to 12 months, we will take away some of the ideas and the themes that people think are important, and then we will be asking for those research priorities to come through, and that will probably be the 2023 proposals that we will be looking to fund. So again, I'm new in my position. This is sort of my first time talking to you about the sort of the research strategy that we will be developing. Obviously, I'm the chair of the group, and these are the other members of the team. I think again, it's great that we have a very sort of a team of scientific advisors that both cover adult and paediatric care, and perhaps again, most important is actually the person with OI who's in this group as well, who will keep us on the straight and narrow and bring us back to the reality of what we're trying to do, which is obviously to help and support patients and people living with osteogenesis imperfecta. So thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
So Patricia is going to give us an overview of the charity generally and what we have been doing, and is also going to introduce you to the new brand. Now, I don't want you to get too worried or excited or upset about the new brand, because, and without giving away too much of what Patricia's going to say, the old brand is on my right and the new brand is on my left. So there's not too much of a difference. You've heard a number of people talk about the 50th anniversary dinner 3 years ago, 2018, which was the first time that I met Dr. Margaret Grant, who of course founded this charity 53 years ago now. That was a real privilege, and I was delighted that I did finally get to meet her. When she passed in December 2020, I also got to find out more about Margaret, because with Patricia we worked on some of the wording and some of the research that went into both her obituary and an article that was written about her in the Times, and again that was really interesting and inspiring for me to read about. So one of the things we're going to announce tonight is a way in which we're going to honour Margaret's memory, and we're going to do that through the establishment of a Legacy Award, which Margaret's daughter Yvonne is going to come and tell us about. So thank you, Yvonne.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. The Dr. Margaret Grant MBE Legacy Award. To honour the memory of my late mother, an annual award to a student graduating from the University of Dundee. An award in the area of intervention and care. A lasting legacy in a profession she cared about here in Dundee, in the city of Mum's birth. From the seat of learning at the University of Dundee, who so kindly bestowed her honorary doctorate. Friends, you have no idea how beautiful that sounds. It is my great honour as trustee of the Brittle Society to confirm that we are committed to supporting an annual award to be given by the University of Dundee annually to a student of merit. May I thank you all for coming and remembering the work that my dear mother started all those years ago. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yvonne. My name is Alistair Batchel. I'm Project Archivist at the University of Dundee. I'm on a one-year placement to catalogue the collection of the Brittle Bone Society. So it's my great pleasure to be here tonight. I just wanted to start with this leaflet that I found not too long ago, actually. So this is the first medical symposium on osteogenesis imperfecta held at Ninewells back in 1975. And I just wanted to highlight that this represents a very long-lasting relationship between the Society and the University of Dundee, and I'm very pleased to be continuing that relationship. So, just a little background on the project. So the archive was deposited just over 10 years ago now, after a leak in the office, which I'm sure Patricia would be very happy to tell you that story. So the archive was very swiftly found a new home with the university. It's been with us for quite some time, but the material was used in the History Bones exhibition, the results of which you can see on the boards at the back, and I do encourage you all to have a look when you can. Up until this point, the collection hadn't been catalogued and hadn't been widely available. So that's where I come in. So I started my role just the end of last year in October, with the primary goal of cataloguing the collection. So what do we actually have in the collection? Well, quite a lot, as you can imagine, over 50 years of material pertaining to the Society. So we have an enormous collection of photographs, documents, leaflets, newspaper clippings, all manner of documentation that charts the history of the Society, and links to sort of advocacy efforts to do with disability more generally throughout the UK. I'd be remiss if I wasn't to point out Margaret's poetry,
of which there's quite a lot, and it's really wonderful to read. And it's a pleasure to say that Margaret's poetry, in conjunction with an oral history that she carried out with the university some time ago, is being used in a project by an illustration student as part of an annual collaboration between the University Archive and the illustration module at DJ CAD. The results of which I'm yet to see. I think next week is the marking of that particular module, so I'm sure looking forward to that very much indeed. And of course there's research material. So this is just a couple of examples that I've picked out. So there were regular updates on progress of research on osteogenesis imperfecta throughout the years, the earliest of which comes from about 1970 or so. So this is an example from one of the Society newsletters calling for teeth, which I'm sure is far less sinister than it sounds, but of course very important research. So, just a quick overview of the project goals. As I've mentioned, the primary goal of the project is to catalogue the archive, rehouse it in professional grade rehousing, and to make this as accessible as possible to yourselves and to members of the public. We're going to be promoting the collection through outreach. We've already began a monthly blog just to explore some of the topics related to the archive and to update on the project more generally. And a major part of the project is going to be an oral history recording session. We haven't sort of ironed out all the details on that yet, but we're going to be providing more information about that very shortly. I just like this note that Margaret had left on her membership form from 1975, just to keep the record straight. So this is the URL for our blog. These are our social medias. I'm looking very much forward to sharing more material from the archive with you all, and can I just say it's a real pleasure and a real privilege to be using this collection. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Alistair. That was great. And it's a pleasure working with you, I must say. So, it's great to get the opportunity to share our new brand and refreshed look with you. We're thrilled to launch this formally tonight, a newly designed logo, new fonts of Copious and Jost, refreshed colours in blue remain consistent with the tradition that Margaret first conceived all those years ago. And I would like to stress that we, there we go, there's the logo, just in case you missed it. We did actually road test the branding and the new look with a number of our own members, because we wanted their feedback and their view and opinion. And as we head towards April the 1st, most of you will appreciate that we are moving to become registered as a company limited by guarantee. So we thought this would be a really opportune moment to revitalise our brand and our look. Now the next few slides, we're just going to show you a taste of the new website. Unfortunately, it's not launched just yet, but we hope to launch it, am I right, Corinne, on Monday? Fingers crossed and toes. So some of our amazing members will feature throughout the website, and you'll find all the information you require. But it's quite clean and crisp and modern and tidy. And as I say, we did keep road testing it with our own members to make sure that they were on side and on board with this. These will be replaced with our own photographs and pictures. So these are just kind of standard photos that the web design company provided for now. But yeah, we think it looks good, and I really do hope you agree. So now moving on to campaigning. A lot of you will know that we want to call for a national month of awareness of OI in the month of May. and we will be launching on Monday, as well as the new website, this really important campaign. You will have seen the pop-up banners, and you may have met some of the people that we have enlisted to be the faces of that campaign. This will also feed in quite nicely to some of the work. I didn't mean to do that. I'll go back. This will feed in quite nicely to some of the work that we've been doing in gathering important data that will help justify some of the treatments and therapies that are down the road. These are the stars of the show. We've got some of them in the room tonight. If you're here, give us a shout. Yeah, give them a round of applause. Why not? Monique's shaking her head thinking what she got in store for me now. But yeah, all these wonderful people have agreed to be part of our campaign, and we will hopefully through them make sure that we get our communication and our messages out to the wider OI community and beyond, so that we can call for this month of awareness in May. So that's my presentation, and I believe now we go to tabletop draw. But while we do that, I think we've got a very special song from a very special family.
I used to clothe myself in hurt and pain. Through the years the anger came. There's not a way to navigate this life, so push towards the summit and the light. There is no end to what the mind can do, with the strength and support of all of you. We climbed mountains for you, scaled the heights and cliffs for you. It was dark, I couldn't see. You were standing there with me. We have loved and we have grown. All the evidence has shown it's in our bones. I came to face the thunder and the rain, to test myself and make me new again. The flood of sunlight washed away my fears, brought a peace I'd missed for all these years. When I come down, you'll be waiting there for me. I am strengthened by the thought of all you'll be. We climbed mountains for you, scaled the heights and cliffs for you. It was dark, I couldn't see. You were standing there with me. We have loved and we have grown, but all the evidence has shown it's in our bones. I was held steady by your arm around me. I could hear your voice from far away. Even though you're small and carry me o'er hills and valleys, you were with me all the
I've just got the job at the end of the night just to thank you all so much for being here, and just to thank you for continuing support, really. I've got a little script, so I will stick to it and read it out. So tonight I'd like to offer a short vote of thanks on behalf of the Brittle Society Trustee Board. Honoured guests, special thanks to Lord Provost, who I know has gone and just won the raffle, but I'm sure he will see this too, for such a warm civic welcome. To the staff here at the venue, the Apex Hotel, for taking such good care of us this evening, for the excellent food, and our thanks to them for sponsoring our welcome drinks, which is wonderful, that was lovely. Thanks to Ultragenex, have I said that right? Something like that, who kindly donated a grant to help us fund the cost of part of tonight's event. Thanks to all the speakers who took part tonight for their marvellous presentations, to our NHS healthcare professionals and friends from the University of Dundee. Well done to Patricia and the team for pulling off our very first live event since you know what. Thanks also to the technical support, including our marvellous filmmaker Ben and the team. Where's Ben gone? Is he hiding? Oh, there. Normally at the other side of the camera. Finally, most importantly, our thanks to you, everyone here, our guests and delegates. We know it may have been a worrying time for many, and obviously it's quite a big thing for you to venture out, but we're so very glad that you did. So until the next time, wishing you all a very safe and trouble-free journey home to wherever that may be. Thank you.